You think you can fine me $5,000 for a fence that was here before your neighborhood was even built? Well, let's see how you like it when I legally seize the community entrance and install a toll booth. Before we dive into how I absolutely dismantled a power-tripping HOA president and made her regret the day she ever learned the word bylaws, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and ensures you never miss a story about justice being served cold. Here is the thing about homeowners associations. When they work, they keep property values up and stop your neighbor from turning his front lawn into a junkyard. But when they go wrong, they attract the kind of people who have absolutely no power in their real lives and are desperate to wield a tiny bit of authority over someone else. This is exactly what happened to me, and I'm telling you, the level of petty tyranny I dealt with would make a dictator blush. I'm a general contractor. I work with my hands, I drive a heavy-duty pickup truck, and I value my peace and quiet. About 3 years ago, I bought a property that was technically part of a developing neighborhood. I say developing because the developers had gone bust in 2008, and the neighborhood sat half-finished for a decade before a new company bought it up and started building cookie-cutter McMansions around the few custom homes that had been there since the start. My house was one of the original ones. It sits on a massive double lot at the end of a cul-de-sac, backed up against a wooded area. It's perfect. Or it was, until she moved in. Let's call her Linda. Linda bought one of the shiny new builds right next to the entrance of the cul-de-sac. Within a month of moving in, Linda had maneuvered her way into becoming the HOA president. The previous president was an old guy named Deeply who just wanted to grill hot dogs and drink beer, so when Linda came in with her binders and color-coded spreadsheets, he happily handed over the reins. That was the beginning of the end for the neighborhood's sanity. The first sign of trouble was the letter. I came home from a 12-hour shift pouring concrete to find a certified letter taped to my front door. It wasn't even mailed. She had walked up my driveway and taped it there. It was a violation notice. Article 4, Section 2, commercial vehicles are not permitted to be parked in driveways overnight. Fine, $100. I looked at my truck. It's a Ford F-350. Yes, it has my company logo on the door, but it's also my daily driver. I don't have a fleet. I have one truck. I chuckled, crumpled up the note, and threw it in the recycling bin. I figured it was a mistake or a welcome to the neighborhood flex that would blow over. It did not blow over. 3 days later, another note. Second notice. Fine increased to $200. Recurring violation. I decided to be diplomatic. I walked over to Linda's house. She answered the door with a fake, tight-lipped smile that didn't reach her eyes. I explained that I've lived here for 3 years, my truck has always been parked there, and it doesn't block anyone's view. She looked at me like I was a bug she wanted to squash. She said, "Well, the previous board was lax. I intend to bring this community up to code. Rules are rules. If we let you park that eyesore there, everyone will want to park their work trucks. It lowers property values." I tried to explain that I literally built the deck in her backyard for the previous developer, which likely raised her property value, but she didn't care. She told me to park it in the garage. My truck is lifted, it doesn't fit in a standard garage. She told me to park it off-site. I told her that was ridiculous. The war had begun. Over the next 6 months, Linda made it her life's mission to destroy me. It wasn't just the truck anymore. It was everything. Grass height exceeds 3 inches. Fine, $50. Trash cans left out past 6 p.m. on collection day. Fine, $75. Unapproved garden gnome. Fine, $25. She was walking onto my property while I was at work, measuring my grass with a ruler. I installed cameras, and sure enough, Every day at 10 a.m., there was Linda, prowling around my yard with her clipboard, looking for infractions. The fines were stacking up. We were talking thousands of dollars. They started sending legal threats, putting liens on my house. The breaking point came in the summer. I had built a beautiful, high-end gazebo in my backyard. It was timber-framed, cedar wood, absolutely gorgeous. I built it myself over the weekends. It was my sanctuary. I came home one Friday to find a demolition order taped to the gazebo. Linda claimed I hadn't submitted an architectural review request, which I hadn't, because I didn't think I needed to ask permission to build something in my own fenced-in backyard that wasn't visible from the street. She claimed it wasn't aesthetic compliance with the neighborhood's Tuscan revival theme. It was a wooden gazebo. The letter said I had 30 days to tear it down, or the HOA would hire a contractor to remove it and bill me for the cost, plus legal fees. I was seeing red. I was ready to go over there and tear down her fence. But then I remembered something my dad always told me. Don't get mad, get the blueprints. See, being a contractor, I know how to read surveys and plat maps. I also know that developers cut corners. When this neighborhood was revived after the 2008 crash, the new developers were in a rush. They slapped new houses down as fast as they could. I took a week off work. I didn't spend it relaxing. I spent it at the county clerk's office. I pulled every single document related to our subdivision. I looked at the original covenants, the master deed, the annexation records, and the surveyor's maps from 2005, 2010, and 2018. I sat in that dusty basement of the county building for 4 days, staring at lines on paper until my eyes crossed. And then I found it. The Holy Grail. When the original developer went bankrupt, the land was auctioned off in parcels. My lot, and the 2 lots next to me, which are still empty woods, were Phase 1. The rest of the neighborhood, including Linda's house and the fancy community entrance with the fountain and the brick walls, was Phase 2. When the new developer bought Phase 2 and restarted the HOA, they filed a document called a Supplemental Declaration of Covenants. This is the document that legally binds new homes to the HOA. I looked at the legal description of the land in the Supplemental Declaration. It listed all lots in Phase 2, Blocks A through F. It did not list Phase 1. I checked the original covenants from Phase 1. They had a sunset clause. If the developer didn't transfer control to a board within 10 years, the HOA for Phase 1 automatically dissolved. That 10-year mark passed 5 years ago. This meant 2 things. 1. My house was not in Linda's HOA. I was a sovereign entity in the middle of her kingdom. And 2. The common area, defined in Phase 1, included a specific strip of land that connected the main road to the cul-de-sac. When the new developers built the Phase 2 entrance, they paved over that strip of land to make the main entry road for the entire neighborhood. They assumed they owned it because they bought the assets of the old developer. But they didn't buy the common area of Phase 1. Technically, since the Phase 1 HOA dissolved, ownership of that common area reverted to the equal ownership of the Phase 1 lot owners. That was me. I was the only owner in Phase 1. I essentially owned the main road into the neighborhood. I didn't rush. I didn't run over to Linda's house screaming. I went to a lawyer. A really nasty, expensive real estate lawyer. I laid it all out. He looked at the maps, looked at the deeds, and then he started laughing. He said, "This is going to be fun." We drafted a letter. Not a request. A cease and desist and notice of trespass. We sent it to the HOA board, specifically addressed to Linda. The letter stated the facts. 1. My property is not, and has never been, subject to the jurisdiction of the Phase 2 HOA. 2. All fines levied against me are void and constitute harassment and attempted extortion. 3. The HOA has 30 days to remove all liens from my property and issue a formal apology. 4. The HOA is currently trespassing on private property, specifically the 40-foot wide strip of pavement that serves as the main entrance to the community. I waited. 3 days later, Linda is banging on my door. She's purple with rage. She's waving the letter. What is this nonsense? You can't just claim you're not in the HOA. You pay dues. I leaned against the doorframe, sipping my coffee. Actually, Linda, I haven't paid dues in 6 months because I stopped recognizing your authority. And if you check your records, you'll see I never signed the joinder agreement when the new developer took over. I just paid because I wanted the snow plowed. But I'm done with that. We will sue you, she shrieked. We will take your house. You can try, I said. But you might want to call the developer's legal team first. They really messed up. She stormed off. A week later, I got a letter from the HOA's lawyers. It was full of legal jargon, basically saying I was crazy and they were going to crush me. So I decided to accelerate the timeline. I own a construction company. I have access to Jersey barriers, those big concrete barricades you see on highways. On a Saturday morning at 6 a.m., my crew and I rolled up to the main entrance of the neighborhood. The entrance that I legally owned. We placed concrete barriers across the inbound and outbound lanes, leaving just enough room for one car to squeeze through, but only if I opened the heavy steel gate I was currently welding to the barriers. I put up a sign. Private drive. Access restricted. Residents of Phase 2 must negotiate easement rights. By 8 a.m., there was a line of cars honking. People were furious. Linda came running out in her bathrobe, screaming like a banshee. She called the police. When the cops showed up, Linda was practically foaming at the mouth, demanding they arrest me and tow my barriers. The officer looked at me, then at the angry mob. I handed the officer my survey, the deed, and the letter from my lawyer. He read it. He radioed his supervisor. He spent 20 minutes on the phone with the city attorney. Finally, he walked over to Linda. Ma'am, this is a civil dispute. According to these documents, this man owns this land. We can't make him move the barriers. Linda's jaw hit the pavement. But people need to get to work. Then I suggest you talk to him, the cop said and drove away. The leverage had shifted. Completely. For the next 48 hours, the neighborhood was in chaos. I allowed emergency vehicles and school buses through, obviously. I'm not a monster. But everyone else? They had to use the construction entrance on the other side of the development, which was a muddy, unpaved dirt road that added 20 minutes to their commute and wrecked their clean SUVs. The HOA board called an emergency meeting. Linda tried to ban me from attending, but since the meeting was held in the community center, which, ironically, was also partially on my land easement, I showed up anyway. The neighbors were furious, but not at me. Once I explained the situation, how Linda had harassed me for months over a truck and a gazebo, driving me to check the records, they turned on her. They realized that her petty war had awakened a giant that was now inconveniencing all of them. The developer's lawyers got involved the next day. They realized I had them by the throat. If I wanted to, I could permanently close the main entrance. Their luxury neighborhood would have a dirt road entrance. Property values would tank. We sat down for a settlement conference. Linda wasn't invited. Here were my terms. 1. The HOA acknowledges in writing that my property is exempt from all covenants and restrictions. 2. The HOA pays me a lump sum of $50,000 for the lease of the entrance road for the next 99 years. 3. All previous fines are wiped, and the lien is removed immediately. 4. Linda resigns as president immediately, and is barred from holding office ever again. 5. The HOA pays my legal fees. They fought on the money, but when I mentioned I was thinking about turning the entrance into a toll road charging $5 a car, they cut the check. Linda resigned in disgrace. The neighbors actually cheered when the email went out. It turns out she had been terrorizing everyone, measuring grass with rulers and checking trash cans at midnight. I took that $50,000 and did some renovations. I upgraded my truck. I added a hot tub to my gazebo. And the best part? I put up a new fence. A beautiful, tall, privacy fence right along the property line I share with Linda. And on her side of the fence? I painted it neon pink. Just for her. Since I'm not in the HOA, there isn't a single thing she can do about it. Sometimes she stands in her backyard and stares at that pink fence. I like to wave from my gazebo. She goes inside every time. The lesson here is simple. If you're going to be a petty tyrant, make sure your paperwork is in order. Because you never know when you're messing with a guy who knows how to read a survey map. If you enjoyed seeing a Karen get absolutely destroyed by legal loopholes, hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of sweet, sweet revenge. See you in the next one.